Mario Tennis on the Nintendo 64. Maybe not the first Mario sports game you think of, but it should be. It's not a very complicated concept. Mario and his friends pick up some rackets and go ahead and play tennis. That's what I assume I'm paying for here, you know? But in truth, you really just get so much more. One of the most complex and competitive multiplayer experiences Nintendo has yet to offer. Of course, this doesn't come cheap. It requires an N64, 4 controllers, a copy of the game, and the hardest part, 3 friends. But let's back up. How did this game come to be? Mario Tennis on the N64 was actually not the first iteration of the Mario Tennis franchise. That would be Mario Tennis on the Virtual Boy, released in 1995. For those of you who are unaware, the Virtual Boy was a Nintendo console that looked like a pair of binoculars that you would prop up on a table. It would stand up on this tripod thing and you would look through it, and it was this black and red VR experience. Nintendo R&D 1, their top development team at the time, made a Mario Tennis game for this, and it was actually said to be one of the better games on the Virtual Boy. This console ended up being a miserable failure. There was only 14 games on it total, but it serves as an interesting footnote in the Mario Tennis history. Think of it as the caveman prototype for what we would get 5 years later. I did not grow up with Mario Tennis. It was a game I was introduced to in college by some friends. I can't remember if I knew of it prior to this either. Likely, I just assumed it existed within the pantheon of Mario sports games that were strategically sprinkled in each gaming generation. From an outsider's perspective, it might seem like this Mario Tennis N64 game is just one that is a dime a dozen. You can just skip over it, you didn't really miss much, you know? In my humble opinion, that could not be further from the truth. A certain magic was captured here that has not been replicated in any future entries in the series, save for the Mario Tennis released on the Game Boy Color as a counterpart to the N64 release. This game basically plays the same as the N64 release, just using 2D sprites. It was also possible to import your characters from the GBC release into the N64 release with an N64 transfer pack, something very unique for the franchise. The Game Boy game lets you play a sort of career mode with real people, real kids at this tennis camp, and you essentially work your way up to eventually play the Mario characters in a tennis tournament at the Mushroom Kingdom. So unlike the Mario characters, these human characters are actually tied to specific stats that you have to level up. So if you import your level 1 character, they're just going to get slaughtered by any Mario character. Everyone in the Mushroom Kingdom is just inherently really good at tennis. So personally, I don't use this feature a ton myself, but for those who have poured hours and hours and hours into that GBC career mode, you know, it's got to be really nice to see your character with all their stats in a 3D environment. Also, might just be the fact that these transfer packs are now 20 years old, but they only work half the time. I have to like hold it into the controller while I'm, you know, syncing it up to my cartridge, so just a fair warning for anyone who's out there buying one on eBay. I think it's really important to look at what the GBC release did to the Mario Tennis franchise. It really stands apart with career mode with these human characters, things that were dropped in the GameCube release. Instead, we have these power shots, which are just short animations that completely stop the game and essentially are used as a sort of comeback mechanic. These have been used in every single iteration since their introduction. They completely destroy the pace of a match, they're an easy band-aid to fix errors. I absolutely hate them. What used to be a skilled logic game between scholars has now become a monotonous slog of taking turns spinning the slot machine between you and your opponent. There's no grace, there's no skill, there's no respect for the winner. Players have quickly forgotten about the match minutes after it has taken place. Let's go back to a simpler time. A time where tennis meant something to Mario and his friends. They gave it the respect and restraint it deserved. No power-ups, no superpowers, just the simple yet infinitely complex core principles of tennis. Mario Tennis N64 was developed by Camelot Software Planning. They have gone on to develop every Mario Tennis game since. Upon booting up, you'll see that multiplayer is front and center on the menu. 1 or 2 players can enter tournaments where you can win things such as extra characters, courts, and unlock a character's star mode. Once star mode is unlocked for a character, you can hold R when selecting them. What this does, it essentially bumps every stat for that character. It's only a minor stat boost, and it takes a trained eye to see any difference. But this should be your main goal before trying to hit the courts for real. Over the course of about 6 years, my friends and I have managed to create 2 cartridges with full character rosters, every character having their star mode unlocked. We've actually separated these cartridges hundreds of miles, so in case something happens to one, we will always have the other, even in the case of a natural disaster. So moving right along, apart from the exhibition modes and the tournament modes, there are a few wackier modes built in. You got this ring shot minigame, you have this stupid game with power-ups. Honestly, I've never bothered with it. And there's a menu where you can check your stats with different characters. All of this is pretty par for the course in a Mario sports game, but where this game truly shines is the multiplayer. I don't think I've played a game with such a low learning curve, yet a high skill ceiling. You can hand this game to your grandmother, and she'll intuitively know how to play. You can hand this game to anyone, and they can at least understand the concept within like 2 seconds. Analog equals move and the buttons equal hit. Obviously there is way more to it than that. The stick will be used to aim your shot. Hitting the tennis ball with A will give you topspin. This is indicated by a red trail following the ball. B will do a slice with a blue trail. A lob can be executed by pressing A then B. You'll know you've done this correctly when you see a star on the other side of the court where the ball will land. A drop shot can be done by pressing B and then A. This is a soft shot that glazes right over the net and it drops a few feet right in front of it, so if your opponent is playing far back, it's going to force them to come up. The last button combination for shooting is pressing A and B simultaneously. This will execute a flat or a smash shot. Flat shots have very little arc to them and are indicated with a purple trail. Now, if the character assumes a stance to prepare for an overhead shot, when a flat shot is executed, the character will execute a smash shot instead. This is one of the most difficult shots to return. It can result in a weak return by your opponent, also known as a baby dinky, or it could possibly force your opponent to use a lob to actually get it over the net at all, making them vulnerable to another smash. In addition, all of these shot types can be charged by just holding the button combination, and if need be, they can be cancelled by pressing the Z button in the midst of their charge up. I brought it up a little bit when talking about the smash shot, but your character's position relative to the ball is extremely important when you press the button. This determines if you do a forehand, backhand, or overhead shot. This obviously depends on your character's dominant hand, which you can actually select at the character screen. Oddly enough, every single character in the Mushroom Kingdom is right-handed by default, so you need to hold Z or L when selecting your character to make them left-handed if you prefer. So if my character is right-handed and I hit the ball with a forehand shot, I'm going to have trouble making the ball go right compared to a backhand shot, or a forehand shot by a left-hand player. Now, I'm not going to go over every single rule of tennis here. You have to keep it in bounds. Tipping the net is a let. If you hit your opponent's body with the ball, you get the point, which I actually don't know if that is the case in real tennis or not. You can play singles and doubles. I will say right now, doubles is infinitely more fun, especially in multiplayer. There's more court available, you have more options in terms of strategy. It is just by far and above a much more fun mode than singles. With doubles brings more characters, and character selection is a huge aspect of this game. I'm going to put up a tier list really quick. I just made this in a couple minutes. It's very subjective, but take a look. I have the speed characters Yoshi, Baby Mario, and Birdo near the top. Boo and Paratroopa are the tricky characters. These characters have a really good slice. They can really curve their B shot, where it's really hard to return. The technique characters, as you can see, are a little bit more widespread. These characters, they have an easier time putting the ball closer to the lines without getting it out. These are Peach, Daisy, Toad, Waluigi, and Shy Guy. You have Power, Wario, Bowser, Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong Jr. They can hit the ball hard. And finally, Mario and Luigi as the all-around type. Those who I play with will argue against me, but I think the speed characters have the easiest time winning games. They can get to the ball the fastest, they leave the smallest room for error compared to the other characters. Although that doesn't discount playing power and technique characters super aggressively. Like the smash hits from Daisy and Donkey Kong can be so impossibly hard to deal with. The last determining factor in your tennis game is the tennis court. Apart from changing up the visuals, the tennis court is only going to affect 2 things, the ball speed and the ball bounce. For example, grass court is going to have fast ball speed but weak ball bounce, while hard court is going to have normal ball speed and strong ball bounce. There's also all these other special ones that feature these character duos. For real competitive games, these courts feel terrible. They feel like gimmicks. Like someone took the sliders of like ball speed and bounce and just cranked them all the way up or all the way down. It's kind of a shame because these courts look really cool, and while getting footage I was like, man, I wish I could play on these because I really like the aesthetic. But if you want to play a game that is fair, I would stick to the original 4, hard, clay, grass, and composition. So I'm pretty much done with this video. I really just wanted to gush about how great this iteration of Mario Tennis is. I don't think I would recommend playing it single player or even 2-player in this day and age in 2022, but I still think this game has a ton of merit. 4 players, doubles. That is just a great experience. It's been so fun for so long. If you're going to play this game, do that. Also, one quick tangent about how polished and great the game's atmosphere is. I love that the characters do a little like walk forward when you pick them. You get this great image of Luigi and Waluigi with an N64 console and controller when you unplug a controller. It's Waluigi's first game. That's awesome unto itself. And it has a really oddball character like Donkey Kong Jr. Like, I mean, that isn't really a positive. I'd just rather have Diddy. Like, and Yoshi is just so good in this game. I love picking Yoshi for like Mario Party, games where stats aren't really a thing. Like, I don't really enjoy him in like Kart, honestly hate him in Smash, so it's good that our boy Yoshi got a game where he was, you know, S tier. Alright, well with that, I'm gonna leave you with this real picture where my friends and I dressed up as our Mario Tennis characters for one Halloween like 5 years ago. And I'm gonna sign out. This is Shan Mania. Everyone have a great night, tip your waitresses, and stay safe out there.